Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I am the void now.
Humana.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting from New York, upstate to the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop. Welcome to the Late Night Live here on Lighting the Void. It is midnight all the way on the East Coast, 9 p.m. Pacific on the West Coast, and it is, well, it's now Friday, January the 8th for me. Moving on into the weekend, Thursday still for some of you. This is a live show, live broadcast. We take live phone calls. The calls are unscreened. Have one single red button to handle any kind of chaos. By the way, we're talking about chaos in the chat. If you want to join our chat room, you can go to the fringe.fm/chat room. If you want to listen to the Fringe FM, if you're just now tuning into it, we have our own app. You can also check us out on TalkStream Live, the paranormal radio app, and tons of other different radio channels like TuneIn. You can go to fringe.fm, the website, and download any of the links, streams, or whatever. We also have a call to listen line, too, from TalkStream Live, which is 701-719-3971. And if you want to join into the show, you can call in at 1-800-588-0335. You can join the chat room again, the fringe.fm/chat room. You can email me at contact@lightingthevoid.com, and you can text the show at 501-777-5631. Woo! And or you can leave a shout out, too, by going to the Fringe FM app. And just, I sounded like Ric Flair, didn't I? Woo! You can download the app, and there's a little shout-out feature there as well. And we will use that and play those shout-outs online, on the air. All right? It's fun. And sometimes, like, if you use the app, like, watch this. Hi, I can send you a message on the app, too. It goes right over the notifications. Bling. If you got the app, you probably just saw that. That's me. All right? So it's pretty cool. We need a whole lot of gadgets and gadgets here. It's fun. So tonight we're going to delve into past lives. It's a topic I love to talk about. And, you know, here recently with Daniel and Alexa, I went into a regression. It was funny. We were talking to Sean McCormick last night, who was talking about float labs. And he had 4 guides. He met 4 guides while he was floating and getting out of body and stuff. And remember when I went into that regression, like in between lives, I ended up like being a part of 4 or whatever. So I thought that was a kind of a cool synchro too. But yeah, so that's what we're going to discuss tonight. Like, are all of our lives being lived within this one? You know, are we living simultaneous lives? We're going to talk to some pretty cool guests that are coming up here shortly. Dr. David Bettenhausen and Carla Bogni-Kidd is going to be with us. Bogni-Kidd, excuse me. I probably butcher their names, but they look like 2 lovely people. We're about to be speaking with them about the subject. But, you know, the other night, was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. We were talking about how we're kind of speeding up by like a nanosecond or a millisecond. The Earth is speeding up. And so they're going to change the world clocks. Time is something that is really trippy if you really start looking into it. It could be the same thing as distance. It could be non-existent. You know, if it wasn't for the sun and the moon and the fact that we grow, I don't think that we would even worry about time, you know? And what happens in between lives? Now, this is a thing. Like, I kind of experienced that a little bit, but I got to tell you, I was half out of it. So some of the stuff that I was feeling or trying to explain was really hard, really hard. But I remember reading a book, Journey of Souls, and if you want to know about what happens like in between lives, I think that's one of the best books you can read, bar none. You can get it on audiobook, and they have it on YouTube as well. But another cool thing too is you meet people throughout your life that everybody knows. Like, when you tell yourself, like, man, I have to have known this person in a past life, because you start having all these weird synchros and stuff. And then people are like, oh yeah, but you know, I've had synchros before with other people. Well, yeah, I mean, like, you have more than one soulmate in your life. You should realize this by now. I hope, at least if you're my age, you should start realizing that some people are meant to be in your life. And I think that perpetuates. This is just my theory, but I think that they play different characters in different roles throughout your life, you know, or your other lives. Or could it be that we're all just super wishful thinking and we really want to have like future lives, and our brains are telling us all this stuff because we're making it real through confirmation bias, and this is our only life? You still got to ask that question. I mean, are we totally sure, even though our intuition and our gut and, you know, through conscious exploration, we pretty much know we have, at least I do, more than one life. But if you don't know 100%, then you still got to ask that question, right? Weird day, Friday. What is it? Bubble bath day? There's a day for everything. I like looking at this stuff, like bubble bath day, English toffee day, winter skin relief day, war on poverty day. I'm all for the winter skin relief day. And anyways, I guess my point is like, these are weird. I get all these little weird statistics. You want me to tell you something that you didn't know about radio? Like some behind the scenes stuff? I'll tell you, I'm looking into this stuff, trying to learn more about radio, and they got these, people cheat, man. They cheat. They got these things called prep services, and I kind of was like trying them out, and they give you like a 10, and this is like, I'm like the magician telling how he does the trick right now, but you know me, I don't care. So if you hear people like spouting out crazy facts and all this stuff, like, you can just like pay $10 and they have like prep services for this stuff. Like, here's one. Like, here's an idea for an app. A woman, I don't know why I would talk to you about this, but I'm just telling you how this works. So if you hear morning shows that talk about random stuff, this is where they're getting it from. But a woman on Twitter has a good idea for couples who can never agree on what to watch. So what if there was an app that both you and your partner have, where you both swipe right or left on movies that are on your streaming services? When you find a match, it lets you know. That's a pretty good idea. They take the Tinder thing and use it for movies. So it just gives me a lot of these random facts, and sometimes I'll pull one from here. Like, while everybody's talking about chaos, I was thinking about this too. And I also spoke to Ronnie McMullen on the phone today from GetTheT.com. And he was telling me, you know, when you go through hard times, music really helps. And I think music is the key to a lot of healing in our life. So is laughter. and music. Music and laughter helps me no matter how hard of a time I'm going through. And it says here that music evokes 13 key emotions in us. It often does a great job of saying what simple words struggle to convey, and you probably have a favorite song whenever you're feeling sad or, looking for a pick-me-up, or whenever you're feeling nostalgic or in love. There's all kinds of songs that can express things that you can't, right? But the researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, have performed an extensive analysis on over 2,500 individuals' emotional responses to thousands of songs, and after finishing their work, the study's authors concluded that the subjective experience of music across cultures can be represented through at least 13 key emotions, and here they are. These emotions are as follows: amusement, joy. This is number 3, eroticism. That's cool, right? Yeah. Beauty, relaxation, sadness, dreaminess, triumph, anxiety, scariness, annoyance, defiance, and energizing. And I started thinking about what songs make me feel each one of these, right? So I thought about amusement. That song, Gangnam Style or whatever, that song always made me laugh. Christmas music gives me joy. I don't know what music makes me feel erotic. There's a few songs that do that for me. Beauty, I don't know. Beauty. I've never even thought, that song's so beautiful. Like, I just haven't gotten that sappy. Relaxation, I like trance music. Sadness, anything from the 90s will make you feel sad, especially like REM, right? But you get caught up in that nostalgia of sadness sometimes, don't you? Like, everybody hurts. Something was wrong with the 90s. Dreaminess, there's a ton of songs that make me feel that. Triumph, hip-hop music, that'll make you feel triumph, right? It makes you feel like a badass, like you're accomplishing stuff. And then you got like music that causes anxiety. Who the hell wants to listen to music that causes anxiety? I can't think of a single song that makes me feel anxious. Scared, scariness. Yeah, there's a couple. Annoyance. I don't want to do that. I'll piss some of you off. But yeah, there are definitely some songs that annoy me. Defiance. Okay. Rage Against the Machine for sure. I love that. That makes me feel defiance. And energizing, any kind of dance or rave music gives me energy. Rock music also makes me feel defiance. I started thinking about this too. Like, you can cure any type of sad emotion if you just put on the right song. It's that simple. Or laughter will cure stuff too. But anyways, I thought that was kind of cool. But back to the subject that we're talking about tonight, which kind of has to do with emotion in a way, is all about past lives. Like, are all of our lives being lived within this one? I don't believe that. But I do wonder sometimes if we're like living on multiple timelines, like all at once. If you look in nature, it shows everything comes out in a spiral, right? And I'm a hermeticist, so I kind of believe that maybe there's this higher self that kind of multiplied myself. It's that spider theory again. And there's like 144,000 me's out there somewhere playing all kinds of different people. And then when I die, I just come back to this higher being, all 144,000 of me. I thought about that once too. And then, like, what is the nature of time and memory? How does that work? Me and Pacho, like, I wish I could get him on the show more because we love talking about this stuff. Is time and memory essentially the same thing? I can tell you for sure it's not. Because you remember how long I was telling you guys the story about when I had my first out-of-body experience? And then during the Astral Journal, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, I finally realized that I'd been telling the story wrong the whole entire time, like a few really fundamental facts too. So, I mean, it's weird how those two play and or play with each other. And then where do we go between lives? Now, out of these 3 things I just talked about, where we go in between lives is the most fascinating thing to me. Because think the reason why I want to know that so much, it's like when I have a conversation with somebody I'm really close with, or like my son, or my father, or my, like my partner, or somebody that's really close, and you know them, right? And you can look at their body, you can hear their voice, you can feel their energy, you can pretty much pick up on their energy, pick up on their vibe, so to speak. But when you look in a person's eyes, there's something like that, right? And I want to know what that is. Not in the next life or the life after that or the future life or the previous life. Like, I want to know what the hell is that in between lives? I mean, because we don't have bodies, right? So what is it about the eyes that makes us just know something? Because I got to tell you, like Abby was talking about chaos and all this stuff today, and then Gregory Scott pulled a thing about don't listen to the voices in your head. It's funny how the voices in your head you can be so certain about one thing, and then you start listening to the voices, and then you're not anymore. But all it takes, especially if you have like a soul connection with somebody, all it takes is for a look in the eyes. And it'll clear the voices in the head, it'll clear the emotion out, and then you just like, bam, all of a sudden you have this knowing, this instant kind of connection now. You don't have this with everybody. And I make it a point to look at everybody in the eyes. And you don't want to stare people in the eyes too long, especially with both eyes, because it's kind of creepy. Let me give you a little hint here. When you look someone in the eye, just kind of look at one eye and don't do it too long. But eventually you'll get to where you can look at both eyes. And if you lock eyes with somebody that is a soulmate, you just know from like the minute it happens. And I want to know what that is. So I'm going to probably talk to our guests about that when they come on here in just a little bit. All that I know to do right now is what we've been talking about all week, is to continue to explore ourselves when we're alone. There's two types of exploration that I've learned for like the 38 years I've been on this planet. One is when you're alone, how to explore your own consciousness, your own emotions, the depths of yourself, which is God. It's like space, man. It's a whole nother place. And then there's another thing with connection that you can explore. Now, I have to be honest with you. I know that you've listened to this show. You might be a new listener, but you may have listened for a long time. I have a connection with you, but it's not the same as what I'm talking about with real connection, that eye lock, that soulmate feeling. If you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man. The second they were born and they opened their eyes, not only was it the most divine thing you've ever seen, but there's just like that instant connection. That is probably, to me, right up there with what is up there in space. There's some weird stuff going on in space, for sure. And I was talking with someone earlier about the rings around NASA, and now NASA's looking at the rings around Saturn, and they've gotten such a close look at these rings that it's not. Well, anyways, I probably can't explain this conversation because it was, I already had it, but there's things that they don't know about still. But that anomaly is just as big to me, all the stuff in space, as the eye lock. So back to what I was saying before, because I'm starting to digress, there is a connection within yourself, and then there's like that soul connection with someone else. These two things, I think we learn the biggest things about ourselves. I really do. I don't think that we unlock who we are in any other way besides that. Sure, we can achieve things. There's a lot of earthly stuff that we can achieve, that tells us who we are while we're here. But I'm talking about the higher aspects of who we are, the person that we were before we got here and the person that we're going to be, or whatever it is we're going to be when we leave. These two things I feel like have really helped me figure that out, helped me gain a little bit of self-knowledge, meditation, dream and astral exploration, magic too, and ceremony, and then relation. I did a show about this too once. And it's sad, because they're disconnecting us in such a way that I don't think we can explore. They don't want us exploring this, man. Because if you really deeply have a soul connection, we have all types of different connections and relationships, right? There's a type of relationship and connection that you can explore with a friend. There's a type of, that you can explore with family and children. There's a whole nother type that you can explore, which is you can even do with manifestation and go on a whole nother deep level and explore the cosmos with, if you're willing to go there with a partner. But you can do that within yourself too. But what I'm saying is both you can do. Both are like the biggest things. And it's funny to me, it's kind of obvious to me, that what they're doing now is trying to block us from being able to do both of those things. And thank God for the people out there that are still telling you, no matter what's going on, or even if you're alone. Because, dude, I felt extremely alone today for some reason. Like to the point where I was tearing up. I'm like, what's that about? So I just laid down and kind of meditated and just stared at the ceiling for a little bit and explored myself and my own emotions and just learned something about myself. Just doing that. And when you have a connection with somebody, you can explore that too. When you have a soul connection with yourself and with somebody else, these are the things that are unexplainable. These are the types of things that we have that happen to us when we hear a song that makes us feel a certain way and we can't really put words to it, right? But it's super nostalgic. Or when we have a synchronicity or a deja vu, or we have a smell that reminds us of something that we can't quite explain. There's some kind of language that goes on with the soul, I believe. It's not just symbolism. I know I've talked a whole lot about symbolism, but there's something deeper there, I think. And we are so disconnected from it right now with this COVID stuff, with this social distancing. I can't even hug my grandma right now if I want to. They want them to stand outside and, have wrapped themselves in cellophane. But you know what we can do? When you see somebody in the street, you can lock eyes with them and you can smile and say, how are you doing? And you can still deliver a message that way that's bigger and badder than anything that you can do vocally, if you know what you're doing. And so to me, there is like a language of the soul, and it has everything to do with love. Like love is its biggest thing, for sure. Laughter, kindness, connection. And I want to learn how to speak it more. Because obviously, vocally doesn't really do it for me. I mean, I love to talk, but it doesn't. I really think that there are forces that are naturally here. They could be elementals, they could, whatever the hell you want to call them. Things that try to block us from deepening ourselves and deepening connections. Not only that, it perpetuates too, right? Because if you're emotionally screwed up when you're raised or when you're a child, then you're afraid to do it. But if you were nurtured properly and loved properly, you don't have a problem at all deepening connections with people. It's comfortable to you. In fact, you might make other people uncomfortable because you're comfortable with it. And thus we continue the cycle, right? So the reason why I think a lot of us that listen to the show are so fascinated with what happens after we die isn't because of death or that we're afraid of death. I really think it has everything to do with the soul is trying to talk to us all the time. And it's the mystery of the soul and the mystery of the connection between souls and what that is to begin with that is so fascinating. It really is fascinating. And some people, I'm going to sound really sappy here, but whatever, I don't care. The people that I have had soul connections with in my lifetime, when I look in their eye, it's the same thing as when I go outside and look at the stars. It feels the same, exactly. You know, like the same nostalgia that you get when you go look at the stars and you just can't believe how small it makes you feel and how beautiful it is. I get that same feeling when I lock eyes with a soul connection. You know, like I remember when my son was born, when you have your first kid, and I just got to make this quick, but you always wonder what's it going to look like, right? So you have all these visions in your head of what your child's going to look like, and you get excited and you can't wait. And really, for me, I don't know about you guys, but when my son was born, when he came out, like it was, I can't explain it. He didn't look anything like I thought he was going to look like. And it kind of shocked me a little bit, right? And I was like, oh, I had all these dreams about what my son was going to look like, but he doesn't really look like this. And then he opened his eyes. And the second he opened his eyes, like I had that feeling, man. It just took me over. And he was screaming. He was like hollering, you know, and they're like, here, hold this. And I grabbed my son and he's crying. I'm like, hey. You know, and as soon as I started talking to him, he shut up and he opened one eye, like kind of like Popeye. And it was so freaking blue, like ice blue. And when I looked into his eye, I never felt his eye, right? Until he opened up the other one. I never felt any type of soul connection like that. I've come pretty damn close recently in my life, but I've never felt any type of soul connection like that. And the more I think about this stuff, the happier it makes me. Even though some of the soulmates I've had in my life, I've had to, I've transitioned from, they were monumental in my life. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for them. So anyways, I want to get into this past life stuff. I want to talk to our guests a little bit about what happens, soul connections, where do we go, guides and stuff like that. And it's really cool to find out that the more we do this conscious exploration, the more we're going to learn about it. So don't get too caught up in everything. There's a whole lot of cool and fun stuff that we can learn here, even while we're in isolation or whatever the hell you want to call this. But yeah, it's cool stuff. Make sure too, like if you want to support the show, we're shipping out our first altar boxes that we sold. You can grab one of those. You can also donate to the show, or you can join our membership site at patreon.com/LTV radio. We'll be right back. More LTV coming up. Stay with us.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas 45, fan of The Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and Spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public. So if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day. All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Thanks for joining us. If you're just joining us, you just missed my rant about what I thought about souls and past lives. But our guests are here with us, and we're going to get into this discussion. One of my favorite discussions is definitely about where do we go after we die? Do we go anywhere? What happens in between lives? That kind of thing. And Dr. David Bettenhausen and Carla Bogni-Kidd is here with us.
The website is thegiftofpastlives.com. And pretty interesting. I can tell you this is going to be a good one right off the bat. Dave and Carla have been close friends since 1998 and feeling a deeper spiritual kinship for each other. Dave and Carla had spontaneous memories of 29 past lives together while meditating. That is very impressive. And they went on to get past life regression training with Dr. Brian Weiss. And now Dave and Carla spread the message of love and kindness and teach holistic approaches to healing. And they teach meditation at their local university and senior centers. Dr. Dave was a registered nurse for 10 years before returning to medical school, and then he recently retired from his private practice, and he now serves as the vice president of medical affairs at a small midwestern hospital. And Carla recently retired as his office manager, and they now share their message together, the gift of past lives, and love is the answer. Thank you guys so much for coming on the broadcast. It's cool to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Fantastic, Joe.
Well, I got to tell you, like, this is something that I really, really want to get into here. How did you, I was talking about before I brought you guys on, how when you meet like a soulmate, you know, like instantly. That's my theory, right? But is that true? Was that what happened with you guys?
No.
No. So see, it's just a theory, right? So
no, because, well, Dave will give you the definition of soulmate and all of those things after. But what happened with us was that Dave bought the medical practice that I was working in. And that was in 1998. I was the office manager. And in 2014, we had implemented electronic medical records in the office. You know, we're not 29, and we were used to paper and pencil and charts, and everything went electronic. So it was really a pain. We were stressed to the max. And I said to Dave one day, now Dave is normally like, you know, Barney Rubble or Yogi Bear or a cross between the two, and he's usually a lot of fun. But he was a crab. And I said, we have to do something. You know, either we're calling a counselor, or I had read in a magazine about meditation. And I said, which do you want to try? And he said, well, let's meditate. So we decided with the entire office that we would meditate. We had 2 other girls working in the office with us. And, but that wasn't the first time that we had met. In 1962, I lived in Boston with my family, and Dave lived in Nebraska, and his father had decided to do his, get his master's degree in Boston, Massachusetts. So Dave was 3 years old, I was 4 years old, and his family went to Boston for the summer, and I'll let Dave tell that story.
And what's really interesting, Joe, is I didn't remember this until we started meditation. So I was meditating one morning, and I said, oh, I just had this memory of when I was in Boston. And I was running on a beach, and there was a Ferris wheel and roller coasters and everything next to the beach. And I was running and screaming, and this little girl ran over, yelled at me, pushed me down, sat on my chest, kissed me on the forehead, jumped back up and said, quit bothering my family. And the first voice that I heard after hers was a woman say, Carla, that's not how little girls act. And I looked at this little girl, and she was standing in front of me with both hands on her hips, and she had this little 2-piece blue bathing suit. And Carla looked at me and said, well, that was me.
Whoa.
And it was interesting because Carla went on to tell me about the story and how this was her first 2-piece blue bathing suit. First time she ever had a new bathing suit, because her family wasn't well off. They didn't have a lot of money. They got to the beach that day in Boston, and they went to a little souvenir shop and bought the little 2-piece bathing suit. So she remembered that day.
Wow.
And it wasn't till 35 years later that I walked in and bought the practice. And it was 16 years later when I had this memory, and I told her, and she said, oh my God, that was me. So you ask a question about soulmates, and we don't use that term, so we can discuss that a little bit later.
Sure.
But we do fall in family groups, And we do say that there are people you're intended to meet. So Carla, since I met her when I was 3, we lived in different parts of the country, and somehow we ended up in Ohio. We were always intended to meet.
Yeah. See, that makes sense too. So you're saying your paths were intended to cross regardless, right?
Regardless. There was going to be a way we were going to run into each other. And so we kept doing this meditation. There came a day when I had another memory. It actually happened first at home. I was standing in an alley, and I looked across the alley, and there was Carla standing there. Now she was young and hot and dressed like a flapper.
Right on.
Okay,
so mean. He's mean.
She was dressed like a flapper, but she still had the same incredible steel blue eyes.
Right.
And suddenly there were 2 lights that flashed from her direction. I got hit in the chest and realized I was shot. And I fell backwards. And actually I was at home, so I bumped into the table next to my bed, knocked the lamp off, all sorts of things happened. But I came in the next day and told her about this memory. And she was really interested, so we kept meditating. The next day I got more story. And I started watching the story happening in my head. And so I was explaining to her that I had met this flapper named Ruby Donaldson at a wedding by a man named Angelo. It was in Chicago in the 1920s somehow. And that I got an invitation to this wedding. I went to the wedding of Angelo. I met Ruby the flapper, who actually sang at the wedding as the singer up in front. I met her at the reception and asked her to go to breakfast, and we took a walk along Lake Michigan, and she told me she was Ruby Donaldson. She was from Bullock, Georgia. She had a family. And I thought, this is very strange. And she worked at a speakeasy called Andre's, and she worked for a mobster named Angelo.
Whoa, okay.
Okay, so a couple days later, Carla has the day off, and she says, this is kind of pretty strange, but she went off to do some research. And what'd you find, Carla?
Well, I got onto Ancestry.com, and I did find Ruby Donaldson, born in 1904 in Bullock, Georgia, to James and Anna Donaldson, one of 11 children. And then I also found an article on the wedding of the mobster Angelo Genna, married to Lucille Spinola, and it was January the 10th, 1925. And we didn't know anything about Angelo Genna, but I read up that he had been, the head mobster of the North End in Little Italy in Chicago right before Al Capone. He was called Bloody Angelo. It was he and his 6 brothers. They were from Sicily. If you're into that sort of thing, Google it. He was a nightmare. But anyway, I was working for him. I was owned by him. And I also found a picture, a newspaper article on the wedding cake from the wedding of he and Lucille. It was 10 feet tall. It served 3,000 mobsters. So I called Dave and I said, I found this and this and this and this. So, we could corroborate some of what Dave was hearing from his spirit guide.
And the thing that was interesting for me was, here we have, first of all, I was raised Catholic, and I never really believed in reincarnation.
Right.
I thought the first memory of this beach in Boston was very strange, and how could Carla and I have been sort of intended to meet? Then we had this second life in Chicago, and it became very interesting because I would come in and tell her more of what I'd heard of the story, and I started to watch it like a movie. It was like very real. And I'm talking to her one day, and I started to feel like I was J.J. Wright, the young man in Chicago. And as I'm telling Carla the story, Carla starts finishing all of the sentences.
Wow.
And the same memory. And that got us started. And then all of this research that she did, we started reading everything we could. We kept journals of everything that happened while we were meditating. By the time we got done, we found 29 lives together. We found that I'd had 42 lives and Carla had 34. But we found that we're spanning back 6,000 years.
And so when you do the meditations and stuff, how do you, like, I'm not really familiar with this, but are you doing some type of guided meditation that leads you into these scenarios, into these?
We were not. Now,
okay.
There are some YouTube videos and stuff that you could do some guided meditations. These were all spontaneous memories while meditating. Now, the doctor in me has always been curious about all of this. And so I've done a lot of reading, past life regression, hypnosis, accesses, the subconscious, and there's actually beta, theta, delta waves that happen in your brain, part of that whole wake and sleep state. Meditation actually accesses the same brain waves in the brain. So meditation and hypnosis, so meditation might be a kind of self-hypnosis that occurs, but it literally opened me up to the memories that I had in my subconscious from my previous lives. And it was quite the experience to go through all these. And we have incredible amounts of details. We started looking at all these things. There's lots of different interesting patterns. The first one is Carla's been my wife, girlfriend, best friend, mother in some of these lives. Yeah. And
are y'all friends in this life?
Best friends.
Best friends in this? That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay.
And so we started looking at different patterns and finding out more about these different lives. And as we were finding them, we found some interesting things. First of all, we found there were times when we were slave owners and times we were slaves. We found out that we had a series of lives where we were Vikings fighting the Scottish, Scottish fighting the English, English back fighting the Scottish, and then Scottish again fighting the English. And then a life where Carla was actually a Viking married into an English family that came sort of in a series. And we got the lesson, which was sometimes no matter what happens, you're actually fighting on both sides of every issue, to the point where there's actually a life where I died and then come back and I'm fighting in the same long war on the other side. So we're literally fighting ourselves.
So Joe, what Dave didn't tell you is that as the time went on and we started to meditate, we realized that Dave has this incredible gift of connecting with the spiritual world. And the name of our book, the first one, is The Gift of Past Lives with Mother, Isabella, God, and Elizabeth. Well, the reason that it's titled that way is that the very first person that Dave met while we meditated on the third day was my mother, who had been passed over for 18 years. And he had never met her. Then after that, a few days later, he met his spirit guide. Her name is Isabella. A few days after that, he met my spirit guide, Elizabeth. And then somewhere along the way in there came a day where he asked his spirit guide, Isabella, who is God? And he heard a voice say, I am. And he had a conversation. So when he says that we got these lessons started to come to us from Isabella, because we're not just here to have a good old time. We're here to learn. And with that, she gave him 5 simple rules to live by, because everything you do is attached to either conceit, selfishness, jealousy, unforgiveness, or love. And of course, you shouldn't be conceited, jealous, or selfish, and you should always be forgiving and loving. So with all of our lives, the 21 that we put in the first book, we listed at the end of each one of those very detailed lives what we did wrong what it corresponded to, whether we were conceited, jealous, all of the above. Apparently, we're very slow learners because it's been over 6,000 years. But anyway, so when he tells you that we receive lessons and we receive information, literally we would sit there day after day and ask his spirit guide question after question after question. Everything that you have asked about life, we have asked and we have an answer, and it's journaled or it's in one of the books.
So, like a lot of the stuff that I was asking in the beginning of the broadcast about life, it's probably you guys have had. I think all of us have the same questions about that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever read Journey of Souls, but they kind of, what you're talking about with families and stuff, like he talks about that too. Like a lot of groups, they end up meeting.
We call them family mates.
And karmic mates.
And karmic mates. They're all in your soul group. You know, they either come along to help you on this journey, or they come along to test you on the journey. And if you develop some karma with somebody, they're going to come back in that next life or the next couple lives because you have karma to fix. And all the karma is related to that selfish jealousy, unforgiveness. And so.
Yeah. I see what you're talking about. So pure love is kind of isn't what we think, I believe, a lot of the times, you know, especially when it comes to, and you guys can help me on this here because you've had so many lives together, especially like when you love somebody, let's say in an intimate way, right? And say that person wants to move on or they have another path. And there is that always causes conflict, right? Because one person doesn't want to let him go and the paths are kind of moving away. And then that creates karma in some form or fashion because we're not loving each other enough to say, well, you know what? I love you.
You're free.
You're free, right? Like, so then you constantly are coming back and doing this thing. I wonder about that sometimes. Why does the person have to keep coming back? Is it to help the other person? So do some people just come to help the other person, so to speak, if that makes any sense?
Well, we told you about Angelo Genna.
Yeah.
And he was my boss in 1925, but in this life, he was my first husband. And as mean as he was, I apparently agreed to come back with him this time because we had karma to fix. And this time I walked away from him. I didn't allow him to own me. Well, he did own me for about 18 years. And then I smartened up and I said, no, I think this is enough. But, you know, I had to learn that. You cannot be owned by somebody. If you're owned, that falls under conceit. It means you're too lazy to do something about it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and there's no reason to have fear because we're infinite. So you're either coming to help or you're coming because you need to learn something.
Yeah, there's another thing, Joe, that's kind of an important lesson because we all have free will in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason free will has to exist is if you don't choose to love somebody, you can't force love or it's not really love.
Right.
So we all have free will in this world anyway. So we're kind of put into this situation that's a little bit of a test. The test is going to push the boundaries of this everything because we also are designed to survive. So the fight or flight thing occurs. Those are all normal reflex things that occur. So you actually have to choose not to be your natural self, to love everyone. But when you overcome that, you've overcome all the karma that you have. You actually are done with this trip to this planet, this world, this physical existence, and you get to return back home, heaven, source, God, Tao, however people want to put that package. We usually say reincarnation was God's plan from the beginning.
You know, a pattern that I've seen based on guests I've talked to about past lives and books that I've read too is when you're going through this transition of karma or whatever, a lot of times so you reach this barrier, let's say in your instance with the mob guy, right? When you reach this barrier to walk away from the mob guy that was controlling you, was there anything that was helping you through that? in the real world, was there another person? Like, do you remember if there was any type of support there, or were you totally on your own?
Well, none of my family liked him. However, when you're young, you don't listen to anybody else. You do what you want. I guess deep down in my subconscious, I knew that I was supposed to be with him because we had something to figure out.
Right.
But when something's not right, don't you feel it?
Oh, yeah.
You just don't feel it, and you can't rest. You have to do something about it. And it took me 4 years to divorce him because I kept saying, well, am I being selfish? And then I just thought to myself, no, because it isn't right for me. If it's not right for me, then, it's time to leave, because it's not fair to him either. If I'm not giving all of myself to the relationship, that's not fair either. So it's not fair for either one. And there's a great big difference between real love and what you think is love.
Love out of obligation and guilt, right? So
yes.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking, when you moved on from that? Was there some type of reward? Or did you feel like that you moved on to another step in your life, or do you even remember after that?
I do, actually. I remember feeling very liberated and thinking to myself, why did it take me so long to leave him? But, like with a lot of women, and I suppose men, you have that fear of the unknown, or you have that fear of change. I was 17 in this life when I met him.
Yeah.
And it was, half of my life. Or I should say I doubled the time I had with him. And you do what you're comfortable with. I wasn't really comfortable, so I don't know why I said that, but you do what you thought you were comfortable with, and then you graduate, you move on. You learn your lesson and you move on.
Yeah. Did you guys ever find yourselves in your meditations, and then we'll have to take a break after this, where you were in kind of like a double karmic situation, maybe where you both helped each other out of situations to move on? I'm just curious.
If you look at the series of lives that we've had together, there have certainly been times when we've pulled each other out of issues. So I think that answer is yes.
Yeah, you could definitely tell you guys have a connection, like right off the bat too. It's easy to tell,
I actually pulled him out of a situation, a 20-year situation for him in this life too. Well, I guess it wasn't quite that long, but
it was 15.
Yeah, I mean, we all have baggage. What the heck? But meditation helped Dave lose 116 pounds because there's great benefits to meditation.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's great health benefits. And that's one of the reasons that we did teach it locally and to the senior center and to some service organizations, because not only do you clear your mind, you learn to self-evaluate, you have self-awareness, but with that, you have peace of mind, which allows you to have more self-respect, and you want to be your best self. And in Dave's case, he started to say, why do I need this extra 116 pounds? I want to be healthy.
Yeah, and I'm going through that myself right now, actually. So I know the feeling, brother. I know how it feels.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of health benefits. Meditation lowers cortisol, which is that stress hormone that helps put on weight, lowers blood pressure, lowers blood sugar.
You just feel better.
You feel better.
Yeah.
And if you feel good about yourself, immediately things start to change. I made a goal to lose 2 pounds a week, and 52 weeks later, I was 104 pounds less.
You did it, man. See? And the way you're talking right now, I can tell, like in your mind, it was like, all I got to do is this and do it, right?
And you just
do it. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And it was part of the lesson too. Isabella said, if you're not your best self, how are you going to, deal with this karmic issue? Because part of love is loving yourself.
That's right. And sometimes I believe this, and we have to go into break here, but I'm learning this in my life too. Sometimes people come along to teach you how to love yourself, out of love to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. And that's real love for sure. Mm-hmm. Really cool. We'll be right back with, they said I can call them this, Dave and Carla. Makes it so much easier, right? You guys go visit the website. It's thegiftofpastlives.com for reference if you're listening on your mobile or whatever device. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
This is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art pal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs.
If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
From the Kingdom of Arkansas, you are listening to Joe Roop and Lighting the Void here on the Fringe FM.
Hey, this is Amalia from Know the Self Mystery School. I know that you are in the midst of massive change. We all are. This is the great turning, the time that we all decided to be here on the planet. Do you know why you came here to be a part of this crazy time? If not, I invite you to join my mystery school. I have a 9-week course called Activate Your Mission. And in this course, you're going to learn how to erect crystal clear boundaries so that you can hear that inner still voice that's going to guide your every move. Even if you're dealing with feeling weighed down by obligation and being enslaved to the system, this course is going to give you the tools you need to illuminate your shadow and awaken to your soul's mission. The moment you sign up to the school, you are going to be greeted by not only a group of soulful spiritual warriors, but you're also going to get some massive karmic clearings, and you're going to feel the energy. It's palpable. I hope you'll join me in the school where together we're going to unlock your divine mission.
Activate your mission by going to thefringe.fm/soul mission and put in the code word FRINGE and receive $50 off today. Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly, also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box was handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Tonight we're talking about past lives, and it's already getting pretty cool. Now make sure if you want to support the show, as I said, you can go to lightingthevoid.com, go to our website, and just click on the Patreon banner, or you can make a one-time donation too. I already got the book from our guest tonight. Like, I gotta say, out of all the subjects that we talk about, astral travel, past lives is probably number 2 for me, for sure. And if you want to call in tonight, you can too. It's 1-800-588-0335. You can talk to our guests tonight. Tonight's with us is Dr. David Bettenhausen and Carla Bogni-Kidd. And they wrote some really cool books. The Gift of Past Lives of Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth is one of the books. That's the first book that they wrote. And they have another book too. Now I dropped these links in the chat room as well too. So if you guys can go check that out. And they have another book which we're going to talk about. It's called Hell No, Reincarnation. That's got the question mark there. It says with Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth. And I was just bragging about how beautiful the covers are too. But I want to ask you about why your second book is titled Hell No, like that. That's fascinating. Why did you title it that?
Well, part of it is the tongue-in-cheek thing, and part of it is one of the lessons, because early on, my spirit guide Isabella said, there is no hell. That's why this reincarnation thing even exists, is you're given chance after chance after chance to learn your lessons, correct the mistakes or poor choices, and then you return home. So we all are on this path of trying to get rid of the karma, make loving choices, return home. You have to live all sorts of experiences to learn enough lessons to get through this. In the break, we mentioned that Carla and I both have had lives that we were white, black, we talked about
poor.
Rich, poor. We've been in almost every situation, and you need to have some of those different life lessons. Otherwise, you can't really learn compassion, which is part of the lessons of love. If you've never been in the situation, how can you truly understand it?
Yeah, it's tough. It gets messy, doesn't it? Sometimes it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard and it's messy and it's deep but it is like the biggest lessons. I think love is like the biggest lessons that you learn in your life, And I've seen some pretty hardcore stuff already, and I'm 38, right? I've seen mothers get heartbroken from their own children, even on their deathbeds. I've seen, I've went to nursing homes and visited elderly people, and I swear what you guys are talking about is 100% real, right? Now you could tell the people that were loving and kind, the senior citizens that were there they had people visit them all the time. Everybody loved them. Their families came and visited them all the time. And the really ones that were bitter and just hated life and, was really caught up in their pain, they seemed to be isolated and alone, and you start to think, well, how does that happen? These are all loving people. These are all people, and you feel bad, but you do start to see how we kind of create our own realities of love based on how we're giving it and expressing it. And then when we don't, it really pushes us away from everything,
Absolutely.
Dave, tell him your father's karma story.
Okay, that's a great story.
It's perfect.
Again, Joe, this is when you're learning about your past lives, especially if you do any kind of regression experiences. I've had what I call the privilege of actually watching my father's past life review in between lives after his last life. Now, I'll give you a set of stories. And there's a life where my father was a slave trader, and he split families up. He chained men into the bottom of his boat. In the next life, one of his daughters was kidnapped. His wife died during childbirth. And in his current life, my dad was a wonderful man, loving, caring, great man. He spent the last 20 years of his life chained in a wheelchair because he got Parkinson's that was very severe.
Yeah.
So if you kind of look at those things, there's some karma involved in this. It doesn't mean that you're going to be imprisoned. You may be chained because you're in a wheelchair because Parkinson's. You may become addicted to alcohol because you were controlling of someone else and now the alcohol's controlling you. All those are the lessons that are present in this.
Interesting. So how do we work this out? Say, for instance, I don't know, someone's going through bouts of depression, right? And they keep finding, like for me, I love doing the show, but I keep finding myself isolated from people, right? And I don't like it. And I'm even living in a world where the isolation is a thing now, you know, social distancing and stuff. So I feel like that, and I don't know what you guys believe about astrology, but I've studied it, and I think there's some reality to it, right? So I feel like with a Capricorn past node, and I have like a Cancer north node, it's trying to get me towards love and family. But in my past life, all I cared about was, you know, material success and being on top of the world, right? And now I find myself isolated, trying to find my way to loving environments, right? But I wish I could figure out how to find out it's specific like you guys are doing. And is that through the meditations that you're doing?
For us, it occurred through the meditations. Now, because we were so curious and we had to know more, we did go train with Dr. Brian Weiss at the Omega Institute in past life regression. We really don't do it for a living. We do it for friends and family. But having that experience, you know, we went to class, you know, for a week with 150 other people from everywhere around the world trying to learn past life regression. And there are so many experiences that people can have with that. And there's a lot of healing experiences that people have with past life regression, because frequently the problem we had in the past life is still following us till we address it. So if you go back to the past life, find the same problem, work through the problem in that life, this life starts to heal.
Wow. Okay.
The other thing, and the other thing that you mentioned, which is really interesting, it's coming in one of our books coming up in the future, is you talked about astrology. I don't know what your astrological sign is.
Are you a Capricorn?
No, I'm Aries sun, Cancer moon.
Okay, and what's your birth date?
April 1st, 1982.
April 1st. Okay, so like Dave was just hinting, we have angels specifically given to us with each incarnation. So the astrological sign that you're under is determined by God. It's not by accident. It's because it gives you certain tendencies. The book that's coming out next, it's actually called The Manual. And we have broken down into threes, all 12 of the astrological signs, because it falls, for instance, like Dave is a Pisces and I'm a cusp Pisces. We both fall under Aries, Pisces, and Aquarians all fall under selfishness. Now, that doesn't mean you're selfish now, but it means in the past you had a tendency to be selfish. So God has given you the angel of selfishness to overcome that. So if you happen to be meditating and you see colors, you probably will see yellow colors because your angel is yellow, falls under Mariel's legion. So if you already know that you have a tendency to be selfish, then that's what you need to work on right away.
Yeah.
If you're seeing other colors, and selfishness doesn't mean you just want your own way. It means maybe you're not giving of your time.
No, I worked at this. So I figured this, I went through this hellish thing in my first marriage, and like a big transition of that too. Like I don't feel like I'm the same person at all that I was when I was younger. I was extremely selfish and self-focused and was quick to anger and quick to spout what I believed and wanted my own way all the time. A single child too, you know, raised by a Piscean father as well, who, you know, likes to play the martyr all the time when instead of actually like giving in to the beautiful side of himself, like he's the martyr all the time, you know? And so, I learned a lot through the breakup of my first family, right? Like going through that, building a business, having a wife and kid. But then inside my family, I was kind of tyrannical a little bit. You know, I loved Carla, right? But I did more for myself than I did for her, you know? Because I always thought, well, she's not doing this for me. She's not doing this for me. Why should I do this for her? And blah, 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 blah. You know, and would get loud about it and try to force answers out of her sometimes because she wouldn't communicate with me. And when all of that falls apart, right, when it breaks apart, that's when you sit back and you go, what happened? Right? And you start like pointing your finger at everybody else that caused your problems. And then you really start to see what happened is I just didn't love this person the way I should have loved them, the way they needed to be loved. That's it, you know?
Yeah, it really comes down to pretty simple things.
Yeah.
But you really need to love the person the way they are, not the way you want them to be.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
If you expect them to change to fit your mold, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so if they love you the way you are and you love them the way they are, this works out.
Now, but people do grow together too. So I've seen that happen. And I've grown too. But I still think just because two people are growing at the same time, they're still growing as individuals though, right? I mean, they're still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. And earlier, Joe, you asked a little question about soulmates, and we'll give you just a little spiel on that. In this reincarnation world, there are so many people with so many theories as everybody's trying to get some grasp on why you're pulled to people. One of those theories out there is a theory called twin flames.
Oh, yeah, I've heard it a million times for sure.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing, the problem with this twin flame idea is it somehow implies that they're the other half of you, that you need them to be complete, or that there's karmic fights between the two of you. Well, you're all created complete by yourself. And until you realize you're complete by yourself, nothing is really going to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, you've got to be comfortable with who you are. So this whole idea that there's some twin flame person who's going to make you perfect when you meet them, or some soulmate that's going to make you perfect when you meet them, is really a fallacy.
That's kind of unhealthy too when you start thinking about it. Like, I need this other person to feel okay with myself, or I'm
gonna die.
Yeah,
it's terrible. Please.
I mean, it's kind of romantic, right, in a way, but it can turn extremely toxic in about 2 seconds. Yeah, and it's like, okay, it doesn't feel like love. It's like obsession. It's weird. I've had it happen to me too. And when I was younger, I think we've all been there at some point in our life. Like if it's our first heartache or someone gets obsessed with us and they just won't go away. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that happens to us in that sense, I think.
My first heartbreak, the guy's last name was Roop.
My last name?
Yeah.
Roop, R-U-P-E? Seriously?
Yes. Yeah. So as soon as Dave told me the name, I'm like, oh boy.
That's weird.
And what we find with all these podcasts we do, we've talked about family mates. So many of these podcasters, the hosts and hostesses, have been in our past lives. We found them as daughters, granddaughters, actually.
Friends.
Yeah, we did one the other day, and he was one of Angelo Jenna's brothers.
Wow.
And, and because you run in the same circles, we are meant to connect, we're meant to meet. And there's so many synchronicities. Your name being Roop is not by accident. These things always happen.
I tell everybody that. Yeah, I tell everybody that. I said, look, that book, Ecclesiastes, when it talks about there's nothing new under the sun, I really believe that because everybody's has these energies working out in their life. It's just the characters are different, the street signs are different, the locations are different.
Got it.
You know,
you
playing a role. You're playing a role. When kids get mad at their parents, I say, don't get mad at them. They're just like you. They're just an older version. They're learning just like you. You know, they're playing a role. Some people are good at it. Some people are not. Live and learn.
It's fascinating. That's fascinating stuff. So just a practical question really quick. With all this stuff going on, like COVID and everything that's going on now, I try to tell people in this audience, I'm like, look, this isn't new. It's just a different version of something that's happened before, right? Mm-hmm. What we need to do if we want to fix this and help each other is learn to expand our consciousness and learn to love each other And until we all start, I feel like we all have this kind of like karmic thing we're trying to work out as a whole. And until we do that, this stuff's going to keep happening, you know?
Absolutely.
That's right.
Joe, one of the things, and we talk a little bit in the second book about that, is there is really such a thing as group karma. You know, as a society, we've set ourselves up for this. And what has COVID really showed us? And this whole 2020 showed us that when we're pressured as a civilization, we become angry, belligerent, we fight, we become paranoid that the government's coming to get us. All of those things start to happen because we're actually letting our real self show. Because a lot of the time we've got a fake shell on. And when the pressure starts to build like COVID, we're all out there actually reacting like we are.
Yeah, for sure.
We're seeing our weakness.
So do you guys? No, go ahead.
There's been a lot of good points to COVID. COVID forced families to do things together. They walked their dogs. The nursing home patients that were laying there day after day that never had anybody come and visit, they died earlier. They got to go home. And, you know, now mind you, there's people that died and you question why. They were young or whatever the case may be. But there was lots of good that came out of it. People learned what was important and what wasn't. Do you really have to go out to eat every night of the week? Can you cook a meal at home? You know, all of those things. There's a lot that made everybody stop and self-evaluate and say, wow, you know, look at the money I've saved by not going out to eat every day. Or do I need to go to the bar?
Yeah, right. Or relationships that need to end, probably, that you're probably like now you're stuck with that person that you keep avoiding every day, you know?
Yes,
so
you're going to figure it out.
and parents had to read books to their children.
Oh, that's,
do
that's
homework.
And a lot more people are doing stuff from home too. Like I've been doing stuff from home for a little while now, but I think it's great because this is forcing people to learn to like not let certain things control them or give into the control even more. But it's also like teaching us how to be more self-reliant in a way too, you know, to be better individuals. And I'm getting this vibe from you guys about breaking these karmic patterns so we become better and more powerful individuals so that we can love better. And there has to be some kind of plan here. Is it not seem that way to you guys?
Oh, it seems like a plan, and the lesson's been a plan. Again, we talk about that karmas and reincarnation is really God's plan. If you're going to really return back home, you've got to learn all these lessons that make you a loving, compassionate person so that you can return back to the love that created you. Now, if you want to say that's this conscious stream that existed that's caused the creation, I can argue with some of that. I call that God every time.
Sure, yeah. Call it what you want. Love still exists, you know?
Yes.
That is cool. So when I say a divine plan, I feel like there are some people, and I always get upset, like when I hear this too, especially in our groups, that they think like, well, Earth is this place where it's terrible and I can't wait to get out of here and all this other stuff. And I feel like the spirit realm and the physical realm coincide and work together in a way to grow us, you know, and it's,
Absolutely.
I think it's, you know, there is a plan for the whole of all of us too. I kind of think, you know.
Definitely.
I do too, Joe. And, you know, I have large arguments, and I don't mean arguments because they're really discussions, because there's a lot of open-minded people in this space, and you know the world is enamored with quantum mechanics and everything else right at the moment. But quantum mechanics is still an explanation of the physical world. I don't know that we can actually draw quantum mechanics and have that equal the spiritual world. I don't know that the two really are the same, but there is quantum mechanics at least explains creation.
Sure. Yeah, it definitely does.
You know, if anything, quantum mechanics and quantum physics argues for a creative moment, a creative force. It argues for a world that's incredibly organized, when quantum physics would sort of say it should be random and chaos.
Right.
But we don't have random and chaos. We actually have order. Reincarnation occurs in an order. Biology occurs in an order. Evolution occurs in order. There's an order.
Yeah,
it's bigger than what we see.
Yeah, I get that vibe too. Like everything you guys are talking about, I get that vibe too. I want to go to the phone lines here. If you guys want to call in and ask our guests a question, it's 1-800-588-0335. We have a caller from, it looks like the Washington area, 509 area code. You're on the air with Dave and Carla. Who are we speaking with? Hello, 509 area code. That's you. Going once. I guess they don't hear me. But I'll leave you there. When I start seeing your level, I'll bring you back on. But that number again, guys, is 1-800-588-0335. Are you there, 509? There you go. Do you got a question for our guest?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, what's your question?
Hear me out?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you, my lady. Anyway, I was hoping to hear, what if my child was born in New York and she was laid in my lap and she was a young baby and I already knew that she has a New Yorker accent, and where am I at? You feel me?
What do you mean? Can I say that again in a different way, because I'm a little bit confused. What do you mean by that?
All right, so we're talking about reincarnation, right?
Right.
So I got a little one, and she's got an attitude on her.
Uh-huh.
I live up here in Washington State, and I'm pretty sure she's a little New Yorkan, little baby. I just said, I'm pretty certain of it.
Okay.
So she's got an attitude on her. And night after night, she's 6 years old, and she's got an attitude on her. And I don't know what to do with it.
Huh.
So
So
anyway,
you're getting the vibe that she's got like a past life from New York, or some had an attitude before she came along.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's on the verge of the age of starting to forget all of her memories, but real quickly before she does, you should start quizzing her on her past lives. See what you can find out.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's
There's an awful lot of studies out there, and most of them in the reincarnation area have occurred with children. There's concern that past life regression could be highly suggestible. And so most of the research into past lives and reincarnation has occurred in kids that are 3 to 5 that spontaneously start to talk about their memories. They'll say things like, "You weren't my mother last time," or there's a great story about a kid who remembered being a fighter pilot over Iwo Jima.
Yeah, I heard about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story. He knew the name of a couple of the guys on the boat. He knew the name of the boat. He knew that he died. He knew his name was James, that he was the second James or so in his family. In this life, his name was also James. They did the research. They went back and found that indeed the boat had been at Iwo Jima, that the guy that he remembered on the boat was also on the boat with him, that his airplane went down and he was the only man on that boat whose plane went down and he died in the crash.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
You can't coach a 3-year-old how to know those things.
Yeah, and I've heard them say things too, like they'll call their aunts like grandma, or they'll they'll come up with names that you never heard before. Like, who's that?
Say that, I'm a girl and I'm from the East Coast and I have a little attitude. I think it's okay.
Yeah, she's got potential.
Yeah. That's funny. That is funny. We got to take our last break here. I went over just a little bit too, but yeah, if you guys want to call in, you can. It's 1-800-588-0335. That's a toll-free number from the United States or Canada if you want to ask our guest any questions about their books or past lives. Be right back.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker.
this is Mika, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Phone lines are open, 1-800-588-0335. Tonight after the broadcast, the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable will be on. And this show broadcasts here for you live, 9 p.m. Pacific. We might be switching that show time, by the way, but right now it's 9 p.m. Pacific to 11 p.m. Pacific. Our guests tonight, Dave and Carla, authors of a couple of really cool books. I just got one myself, too, actually. The Gift of Past Lives and Hell No Reincarnation. And they both say with Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth. And this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about, too, is guides. I always thought guides were a cool thing. Now, I've had a few, let's just say, super conscious or supernatural conscious experiences, but I've never met a guide. I've had one interaction with a person that I thought might be a guide, but is there some type of thing that we could do to meet our guides, or do they just kind of show up as we're going along through this in our journey? I mean, there's no way or formula or anything like that, is there, to actually speak to them? I wonder.
I think, Joe, actually some past life regression therapists will take you back and help you meet your guide.
Okay.
Your guide has usually been with you since your first incarnation. Now, because we're not all here at the same time, they may guide others in between times, but you've had one main guide all of your lives. You may have some additional help from family that have passed over that connect with you, but you've had one main guide in every incarnation.
And cool. An angel.
And an angel. The angel will change sometimes because, again, we talked about how it's related to your astrological signs, because your astrological signs are part of how you get your karma.
Shoot. I had to get the Aries one, didn't I? So you said...
so you're already a little bit stubborn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm setting my ways a little bit. But I'm telling you, it is fun because the older I get, the more, I'm not saying passive I get, but the more compassionate and understanding, and the more I just focus on, I think love will take care of it. It's like night and day compared to what happens in my life and how it's been, so I can see what's really happening. And I read like the Inner Sky and a lot of astrologers that are into evolutionary astrology that, they're trying to show you that you're going through these transits so that you can grow your soul, that you need to pay attention to that. Because everybody's like, oh, I'm stuck with my birth chart. I'm stuck with this karma. I'm cursed. They feel like it's a curse. And really, if they just pay attention, they could grow with it,
It's a blessing. It's a potential for growth every time.
And did you guys believe in astrology when you first got into this, or did you just come to know it, or what?
Oh, I have a long history. Even when I was a kid, my whole family thought I was crazy. The first thing out of my mouth would be, when's your birthday? Because I always could see it. I could always understand that people have definite tendencies. And when I was Dave's office manager, I would hire people based on not their birthday, because we can't ask when that is, but what their astrological sign was, because I knew whether I would get along with them or not. I knew what kind of worker they would be. I would tell my girlfriends the same things. And then I got to the point where girlfriends would call and say, hey, I just met this girl and her birthday is blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And I'd say this, 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 and this, and it'd be, oh, you're spot on. I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't make it up. I just happened to notice it. And
Would you have hired me, an Aries? Probably not.
It depends. It depends on what you were doing. We did have an Aries. You know, Rita was an Aries. Good worker if they want to do it. If they don't want to do it, it ain't getting done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well,
right,
yeah,
right,
I kind of do what I want. Yeah, for sure.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
So, I don't think that's bad, but I think all these signs these traits we have, they have a balance, right? That we're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
There is a balance. There's a negative and positive on each one.
Yeah. So you don't want to, like, as an Aries, you don't want to try to be the emperor and dominate your own life and have no compassion and just do what you want all the time. But as balance, you can take those leadership skills and help guide people, but at the same time be compassionate and open to what they want and open to their voice and open to their feelings and, act upon it, right? And then, like, you learn that balance as you go through this stuff.
We all have our strong points and our weak points, and the idea is to get them balanced, no matter what sign.
I will never. What about a Gemini? I'm just curious.
Woo!
I just saw that in the chat. Someone's like, I'll never work with a Gemini, right?
Well, first of all, they like to be the boss and they like to tell people what to do, but they do have those two sides to them.
Yeah.
That's why they call them the twins. 1 minute they're in a good mood and the next minute, nope. So, Aquarians and Geminis get along pretty good, and that's, I'm an Aquarian, and that's why. I mean, we get along pretty good. But do you know that there's more Aquarian Aries marriages than anything?
Yeah, I've read that too, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is there seems to be an awful lot of Leos and Geminis that get married, and it just never seems to work. I don't know why. They should do their homework before they do it.
That's Gemini energy. Like, we're getting into astrology now, but Gemini energy drives me crazy because it's always stuck, right? And then it can't go. It goes one way, then comes back and goes the other, and then one way again. And it's like, go somewhere,
Yeah.
Like, do something, make up your mind and go with it. And usually when they do that, they get all this success and stuff. But when they get stuck, you get stuck in there with them. It's hard. So
if you allow it.
Yeah, if you allow it, which is something I don't think that we discuss enough too. I think a lot of the times when we talk about past lives and working out lives, and that a lot of times we think that we have to do something, but sometimes, like you were talking about earlier, it's about self-love too, and learning how to love yourself, right? I mean, it's not just about loving others. You have to learn how to love yourself too, right?
Absolutely. If you don't love yourself, you can't really give to others any.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So with you, with the mob boss, you were kind of like, in your case, maybe your gifts were being held back because you kept trapping yourself, right? Like you had other things.
Well, and I've kind of had a little bit of a history of that, and I'm over it. I am over it. But in the past, and this is how history has been. Okay, you owned women, you sold women, and you accused them of being, can I say this on the air? Whores,
right?
Okay. Yeah. So how can you're owning us and you're selling us for that purpose, and then you say we're a whore? So make up your minds, guys. What is it? It's
all even in, and I've studied this too, like even in Gnosticism, in the deepest parts of the mysteries of spirituality, the feminine, the divine feminine, the women that moved crowds along with some of these big men in spirituality were hidden. They were kind of pushed down. They weren't talked about as much. But now some of them are coming out, right? I mean, they're even making movies about some of them. And I think the balance is kind of starting to come back. What we don't want, though, is the pendulum to swing so hard that, because that sounds a little scary too. But we do that, right? Like in ourselves when we are trying to overcompensate for karma or something, and I'm never putting up with that again. The pendulum swings so hard, we just don't tolerate anything because then it triggers us. And I think all that's up in our head. I think when you just use love, it simplifies things. I really think it does.
That's very true.
So, only because you said this, Joe, I'll even bring this up. If you do read the second book, Hell No Reincarnation, there is actually a chapter on Gnosticism in that one. There's a lot of biblical references. There is all of the history. 33% of the world's population believes in reincarnation. 20% of the world's Christian population believes in reincarnation. If you poll them, we talk about much of the literature that's in the Bible that does support reincarnation. In fact, Origen of Alexandria is the man who really wrote almost all of the original Catholic doctrine in 200 AD. And Origen promoted reincarnation as a very likely way and transmigration of the soul. And it was 200 years after his life in 400 AD when the Catholic Church came back and said, we can't go with what he used to tell us about reincarnation being real. So they excommunicated him 200 years after he died. So again, there's a lot of history, even in the church, that supports this. Kabbalists are Jewish mystics who believe in reincarnation. There's a Muslim sect called the Druze that believe in reincarnation. The Gnostic Christians at the time really believed in reincarnation. And what do we call everybody who doesn't believe the way the church says? We call them heretics, which used to be, and the word heretic means you have a different opinion than me.
Yeah, you just don't. You're not buying into the dogma, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It means you have a different opinion. Now, if you use the word heretic, we say it means you're some sort of horrible sinner. So just, think about how the change in the words start to mean things.
Right. Real quick on the phone lines, we got line 1954 area code. You're on the air with Dave and Carla. Who are we speaking with? 954 area code. You're on the air. Who are you speaking with?
Me?
That's you.
Oh, hey. How does one, I've looked into getting hypnotized, but the money that they charge is way beyond my means. How do I get this done? Being hypnotized to learn, but still be able to afford it.
Okay. Do you guys offer some type of services for that? But it's not hypnotizing; it's meditation, isn't it? Or
we do past life regression too.
It's kind of both, right?
Okay, so we also do past life regression. But let me tell you, there's a couple excellent ways for you to approach this. If you live anywhere on the West Coast, you can find schools of thought it's called quantum healing therapies, something close to that. They have a lot of schools. Their students all have to do so many for free as they're getting their certification. So if you contact some of the schools, you can get an online Zoom past life regression. The other choices are people like Dr. Brian Weiss does have YouTube videos out there where you can do a self-hypnosis. I think past life regression in person is a little bit more personal, a little bit more successful, but certainly you can try some of the YouTube videos. And a lot of people have some early success. After you get some success, you can decide that it's worth the cost if it's very expensive in your areas. I don't know what you consider too expensive. I do know
I don't make a lot of money, sir, and
that will do $99 for an hour session.
Yeah, I did the Brian Weiss YouTube thing too, like you're talking about. I got on YouTube
and he has a CD.
Yeah. And that's free, right? You get on YouTube and listen to some of his walkthroughs and,
But start with meditation. Start religiously meditating, because if you're not used to being opened and you're not used to having anybody come to you, or faces or colors or lights, that could all be alarming to you if it happens right off the bat. So you should start with meditation religiously.
All right.
Okay.
There you go. I hope that helps you. Thanks for calling, by the way.
I'm in Florida, by the way, so.
Well, you could always
come for a visit.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Yeah, there's a school down there that teaches that. I thought about going to, that Daniel Alexa went to, but it's pretty expensive. But I still want to go to that. But thanks for your call. This is a good question, actually. A lot of people don't call and ask practical questions. They get interested in that, but that person there that just called really wants to do it. You can tell, because they're talking money, because they really want to do it. So that's good.
That's correct.
We only got a couple minutes here, and now everybody's deciding to call in. The phone lines are full, but we got to get out of here. But here's the thing. I want to ask a question about in-between lives. Now, have both of you experienced this where you're in between lives? Have you experienced what that's like?
Dave has. I've only briefly one time popped into one of my atonement sessions with my grandfather, who is one of my council members, but Dave has done it many times.
Yeah, it's the experience for me is that for the first 3 days, you're kind of confused. You sort of have to adjust to this spiritual world. If this makes sense, you're used to a physical world where you have senses of taste and touch and feel and hear. And it's not that way. You feel the communication while you're there. It actually feels to me like you're sitting almost in a courtroom. There are 12 elders in front of you. You get to see your past life or multiple past lives. It's almost like watching a video or watching the film of your life again. They bring you to specific points where you may have hurt someone else's feelings or physically hurt somebody, somewhere where you were selfish or jealous. And as you see that, you start to feel what happened to the other person. And so as you feel what happened to the person that you hurt, you learn compassion. And then in that time between, they start to discuss options for you on what could be done in your next life to help you learn that lesson. Some people think you get to make lots of these choices. I always give this example. People say you get to choose your next parents. If your next parents don't choose you, who wins? So somebody, there is a guiding force that helps with this. It's those council members, it's your spirit guide, it's your angel, and it's God who is there trying to guide you through these choices so that you're put into a situation that helps you learn. You are given a few choices. We talk about the book coming up. You're actually assigned an astrological sign. You're going to be born in a section that's going to help lead you down this path, which puts you into certain circumstances, certain choices, certain characteristics. You're going to get to choose some traits, and you're going to get to choose an archetype.
No, we don't. They choose your traits.
They choose your traits, yes.
Mm-hmm. But interesting.
You're going to be guided, and then you're going to get a chance to choose your archetype. But they're actually going to recommend the archetype for you too. You can still choose your own, but then you're choosing it based on your ego, and it's also tied to more karma.
This has been one of the most fascinating discussions I've ever had. We're a minute over here, so we do have to leave the broadcast and end this thing. But before we do, I really want you guys to, since you spent so much time with us here late night with all this late night people, and it's been such an awesome show, to tell everybody where they can find you guys on the web, like your, social media pages. Please share this, because I think this information is super important for everybody.
So our website is thegiftofpastlives.com. We have 2 Facebook groups. One is Past Lives with Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth, and the other one is just Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth. The Mother Isabella, God, and Elizabeth Facebook page is really more positive, loving messages. The other one, we talk a little bit more about reincarnation.
Well, thank you.
And it's been a pleasure, Joe.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. I mean, like I said, this is my favorite subject to do, bar none, besides astral travel. And hopefully, I have some kind of tie to you guys, right? Like you.
We'll find you.
You'll find if you do.
We'll find you, and we'll send you some information.
Yes, let me know. That would be cool.
And Dave will find your spirit guide's name and your angel's name, and we'll email it to you.
Oh wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. Thank you guys so much for coming on the broadcast, and thank you all for listening. We got to get out of here. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. You guys have a good night.